Permission of the senior devotionals, we'll try to discuss something. Today I thought we could read on the Trinity Bible.
There is some echo. There is some echo in the audience. There is some echo.
So I thought we could speak today from the fourth canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. We'll speak from the 30th verse, 30th chapter, entitled Activities of the Achievers. And today we'll read from text number 35. So if you have access to a phone or read, then this is Canto 4, chapter number 30, text number 35. This mic is slightly loud.
Yeah, there's some echo coming.
You can So just read the verse. Maybe I'll read it line by line. The Sanskrit is not so difficult. So you know. Yatra Dyante Katha Vrishtas. Yes. You understand? Is it difficult? Okay, we'll do it by word. Yatra Dyante Vrishtas Krishnaya Vrishamo Yataha Nirvedam Yatra Uteshu Nodrego Yatra Krishna. I'll just read something myself. Yatridyante Katha Vrishtas Krishnaya Prashamo Yataha Nirvedam Yatra Bhuteshu Nodrego Yatra Krishna. Translation and Prasnapur by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. Purpose. Vaikuntha means without anxiety. Yes, Vaikuntha means without anxiety. And the material world means full of anxiety. As stated by Prahlad Maharaj, Sada Samudvigna Diyam Asatagrihat. The living entities who have accepted this material world as a residence are full of anxiety. A place immediately becomes Vaikuntha whenever the holy topics of the personality of Godhead are discussed by pure devotees. This is the process of Shravanam Kirtanam Vishnu, chanting and hearing about the Supreme Lord Vishnu. As the Supreme Lord himself confirms, Naham Tisami Vaikunthe Yoginam Devayeshava Patratistami Narada Yatra Gayanti Madhvakta. My dear Narad, actually I do not reside in my abode, Vaikuntha, nor do I reside within the hearts of the yogis, but I reside in that place where my pure devotees chant my holy name and discuss my four pastimes and qualities. Because of the presence of the Lord in the form of the transcendental vibration, the Vaikuntha atmosphere is evoked. This atmosphere is without fear and anxiety. One living entity does not fear another. By hearing the holy names and the glories of the Lord, the person executes pious activities. Shrinvatam Sakata Krishna Punyasha Kirtanam. Bhagavatam 1:17. Thus his material hankerings immediately stop. This Sankirtan movement, started by the Society for Krishna Consciousness, is meant for creating Vaikuntha, the transcendental world that is without anxiety. Even in this material world, the method is the propagation of the Shravanam Kirtanam process throughout the world. In the material world, everyone is envious of his fellow man. Animalistic envy exists in human society, as long as there is no performance of the Sankirtan Yajna, the chanting of the holy names. Hare Krishna, 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 Hare Hare. Hare Rama. Chaitas therefore decided to remain always in the society of devotees, and they considered that to be the highest benediction possible. Chaksharam militam yena tasmai Shri Gurave Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishram Stapitam yena Bhutale Swayamarupagadamayan Dadati Swavadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padkamalan Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupan Sagrajatam Sakanaya Vinaham Vitam Sajivam Sadvetam Savadhutam Varijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sakanaya Shri Vishakamavitam Hare Krishna Gopesha Gopika Nanda Vrishabhanu Devi Vancha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhupada is explaining something beautiful here, that the whole International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant for creating the Vaikuntha atmosphere, an atmosphere of no anxiety. Put your hands up if you feel no anxiety when you come to the Hare Krishna temple. So the rest of you feel a lot of anxiety. Yes, this is the purpose actually of our movement. This is the purpose of our communities, to create a different type of relationships between the individuals so that it will actually create a life which is free from anxiety. The whole world is in anxiety. Everyone is fearful. Have you noticed how fearful everyone is? We fear about the future, we fear about the past, we fear about the economy, we fear about disease. We have so many fears. When we're unhappy, we fear it will never end. When we're happy, we fear it will end. It's interesting, always fearing. Even if you look at a pigeon, when a pigeon is eating, have you noticed? It's always looking around. Maybe something will happen to me. So everyone in this world is so fearful. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada was once asked, what do you feel? What do you feel when you chant Hare Krishna? He could have said so many things, but what did he say? I feel no fear. Abhay Charan, one who has become fearless because they have taken shelter at the lotus feet of Krishna. So because of this spiritual practice of hearing and chanting, it creates such an elevation of consciousness in every single individual that when individuals who have elevated their consciousness then come together, they create a completely different type of community. Most times in the world today, people can't live in a community. People can't live with others. Have you noticed how there's always so much arguing, so much disunity? And the whole idea of this movement is to create a community which doesn't have those things. But do we have it? Yes. Yeah, sometimes, yes. Is there fighting sometimes in the Krishna consciousness movement? Yes, sometimes. Is there sometimes disharmony in our movement? Is there sometimes competition in our movement?
Every day.
Every day.
And how much is in the books
Yeah, transcendental competition as well, yeah. Is there sometimes criticism in our movement? So then what does it mean here? Srila Prabhupada is saying the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for creating a society without anxiety. But still, it doesn't seem as though we're there. We're trying. We're trying. But still, all of you are here. Still, you're here, even though you see that maybe sometimes it's not perfect in this movement, but you're still here. Because we all know that even though sometimes it's not perfect in the Krishna consciousness movement, there is the perfect potential here. But whether we're going to create that community or not is dependent on one key thing which is mentioned in this verse, which is that every single individual has to elevate themselves further. When every spiritual individual in a community is growing, when every spiritual individual in the community is going deeper, when every devotee in the spiritual community is getting closer to Krishna, then what you'll find is that all of these problems will actually disappear. But it takes some time. It's interesting, when you read the Mahabharata, then you see the Kauravas and you see the Pandavas. Do the Pandavas sometimes argue?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, they argue, right? Bhima is sometimes arguing with, Yudhishthira for some of his tactics. Sometimes even Arjun and Yudhishthira are arguing. So between the Pandavas, you actually see quite a few arguments. In the Kauravas, do you see some arguments? Not as many, actually. It's interesting. You don't see as many arguments between the Kauravas as you see sometimes in the Pandavas. Now that's interesting because you think the Pandavas are the spiritual ones. So why are they arguing more and why the Kauravas? So one commentator gives the explanation that because the Kauravas have come together for a material objective. Dhritarashtra. What does Dhritarashtra mean? One who is holding on to the land. So the Kauravas have come for a material objective. And what the commentators say is that in the immediate short term, it's always easier to create unity on a material objective. Because everyone gets benefit if we cooperate. Have you sometimes seen that organizations in the material world function more efficiently than the Hare Krishna movement? Yeah, because everyone's getting paid, everyone's getting something. It's quite efficient. But what they say is that although the Kauravas were united on a material objective in the beginning, eventually everything fell away. The Pandavas on the other side may have had their differences, but because their friendship, their brotherhood was based on a spiritual center, Krishna. Therefore, even though they sometimes had arguments, they stayed together and eventually they were completely victorious. They got the kingdom and they went back to God. So, even though in the spiritual society, sometimes it feels as though it's much more difficult. Why is it so difficult in our movement to create unity? We know in the beginning it may be difficult. In the long term, it will work. As long as devotees are going deeper in their hearing and chanting. Sangha is very, very powerful. If you look at the 5 powerful forms of devotional service, Nam Kirtan means, what does Nam Kirtan mean? Simple. Chanting the holy name of Krishna. Mathura Vas means living in a holy place, going to a holy place. Murti Seva means worshipping the deities. Bhagavat Shravan means reading Bhagavatam. And Sadhu Sangha means associating with devotees. If you look at all of these 5 processes, it's very interesting that you can say Sadhu Sangha is the central one. Because sadhus, all the other processes are done. If they're done with sadhu sangha, they become very powerful. Chanting the holy name is good, but we don't just do kirtan. What do we do? Sankirtan, Samyak Kirtan, congregation, and we chant together. Powerful, more powerful. Bhagavat Shravan, we read Bhagavatam ourselves, but when we come together, what happens? It's a special energy when the katha is done together. We go to the holy place, but do you go alone? No. Bhagavatam says, Yatirtha buddhi shavile nakar hichich. If you go to a holy place, but you don't meet the holy people, and you don't associate, then you miss the point. So even Mathura Vas, you have to do with the Vaishnavas. And do we worship the deities alone? No, we worship as a community. One person is cooking, one person is dressing, one person is singing. Everyone's doing worship as a community. So do you see how Sadhu Sangha is the glue that brings everything together and gives life to everything? Not just that, but Sadhu Sangha is bringing many, many benefits. Have you ever seen in the world, like pigeons, when they go together? Actually, if you see pigeons, they go in a V shape. Have you ever seen? There's actually a science to this. Because the idea is that the pigeon at the front is taking most of the resistance of the air. But what is then happening is that all the pigeons at the back, they can fly more vigorously, and together they go much faster. So if a pigeon flies alone, it's very difficult. But if they fly together, they can go very fast. Not just that, when pigeons fly together, they can fly 71% further without getting tired, because they're supporting each other. In this V shape of the pigeons, there's also a science that regularly what happens is that the pigeon at the front goes to the back, and then another pigeon comes forward. Because, everyone needs a break sometimes. So sometimes the leaders also need a break, and then others come forward, and in this way they care for each other. Did you also know that in a pigeon V shape, there are pigeons at the back, and you know what they're doing? They're quacking. Noises of encouragement. This is true scientifically. They are quacking. So the others are doing the hard work, but at least they're helping, they're part of it. It's also very nice in the community. So nice in the community when there are some devotees who are always encouraging, always positive. They say this is why you need mothers in a community. Because mothers are always very encouraging, even if you make a mistake. Oh, you did good. So we need. So it's like this. And then it said when one pigeon gets injured, then two pigeons come around it and carry it forward like that. So there's a whole science. It's amazing. Even pigeons have sadhu sangha. So there are so many benefits when we are together. Therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, anyone who thinks they can be Krishna conscious separate from this movement is a mad person. You can't do it. Narottam says, Tadhiracharana se vibhakta samvas, janame hoy dehi abhilash. To live in the association of devotees and to serve them. Janame hoy dehi abhilash. This is my only desire, life after life. So sometimes it's hard. We live with each other. It's not so easy to live together. We have such different personalities. Once we were in a brahmachari class, and one sannyasi was giving a class, and he said, look around, look at the room around you. Look around. He said, if it wasn't for Krishna consciousness, would you be friends with any of these people? And then you look around and you think, oh my God, we're so different. Different ages, different cultures, different upbringings. On the material level, we're so different. Yet we're still living together. We're still functioning together. We're still here together. Someone once said, "It's a miracle. Why are there so many arguments and difficulties in the Krishna consciousness movement? Why? How can this happen in a spiritual movement? To me, it seems miraculous." And the devotee replied, "To me, it seems miraculous that we're all living together. Despite the fact that we're so different, that we're so culturally and socially completely different, because there's a spiritual center." So Srila Prabhupada, once Bhavananda Prabhu had gone to Navadvip to find out Prabhupada's astrology. He found out all the details of Prabhupada's birth, and he went to the Navadvip astrologer. And then he came back and he said, "Srila Prabhupada, I went to the Navadvip astrologer to get your astrology done." Okay, interesting. Prabhupada said, "Oh, what did he say?" So he said, "Srila Prabhupada, he looked at your chart and he said, this man has the power to build a house in which the whole world can live." And Prabhupada looked at him and he said, "Yes, that's a fact." That's the fact. That is my mission, Srila Prabhupada said. So we're doing it. Here we are, all from different backgrounds, all arrived here from different places. But we're living together. Prabhupada said this is the real United Nations. But we must all go deeper in our individual Krishna consciousness, because if we don't, then again, material differences will begin to arise again. Then we'll come into the temple and we'll again begin seeing each other in a material way. Oh, here's a woman, here's a man. Oh, here's an Indian, here's a German. Oh, here's a very intellectual person, here's a very simple person. We again see so many differences. But no, we all live together. And how does it work that when we get more spiritual, it becomes easier to live in a community? Well, the first thing is that as we deepen our Krishna consciousness, our service attitude increases. So immediately, that's the first reason why there should be Vaikuntha in the society of devotees, because as everyone is having a deeper and deeper service attitude, it's easier and easier to live together. Because everyone is looking for an opportunity to serve others. Everyone is looking for an opportunity to contribute, not to take, but to give. This is why spiritual society works. Because a devotee realizes I'm wealthy in my life because I have the opportunity to serve. Sevai adhikara diye puronicha nasi. Service is a privilege. So if you have a service, if you have an opportunity to give to others, give to the devotees, that is your greatest fortune. So in a community where everyone's service attitude is growing, then naturally it becomes easier to live together. But when we're in a community where we're not deepening our service attitude, then we'll be looking, what am I getting? What did I get from being here? I've been coming here so many years. What did I get? I've been donating so much. What did I get? Then we begin to question, what did I get? Srila Prabhupada used to show this poster. It was in wartime, and the person said, anyway, something to the effect of, don't ask what you can get from your country, but ask what you can do for your country. Something to that effect. So yes, the first reason why Krishna conscious community works is because through spiritual practice, everyone's service attitude is growing. In the material world, that doesn't happen. Secondly, what happens in the Krishna consciousness movement is that as we're spiritually growing, arguments become less and less. Why do arguments become less and less? Because your vision becomes bigger and bigger. Arguments come because we make small things into very big things. Why do we make small things into very big things? Because our vision is very, very small. But when our vision is growing, I'm here for one life. I have a great opportunity to go back to the spiritual world. There's so much to experience. Then all the little arguments of this world, will it matter so much to us? It doesn't matter so much. We will not hold on so much. Let it go. Let it go. Therefore, it's very interesting. Rupa Goswami explains the symptoms of bhav. And the very first symptom of bhav that he gives, Shantiravyarthakalatvam viratir manashunyata ashabandha samatkantha namaka sadaruchi. He's explaining when one develops bhav or spiritual emotion, how will you know? And the very first quality he gives, forgiveness. Very interesting. The first quality of someone who is developing in their spiritual emotion is that they're ready to forgive. They're ready to let things go. They're ready to walk away and not hold grudges, not hold negativity, not hold a sense of I have to get revenge. No, it's okay. There's something much better to get in life. So can you see how when you grow spiritually, it becomes easier to live in a community? The other thing that happens when we grow spiritually is that as our spiritual desires go up, then what goes down? Material desires. So now imagine you're in a community where people don't have so many material desires. People are not looking for power. People are not looking for prestige. People are not looking for popularity. People are not looking for all of these things. What they hold in the highest regard is purity. Sometimes we measure someone's advancement by power or popularity or position. Oh yes, it must be an advanced devotee, many people, or much power or much position. Of course, we always offer respect to everyone. But the real parameter of who is advanced is not any of those things. The real parameter is one who has purity. So when everyone's going spiritually deeper, they don't have all of these ambitions. I must be higher than someone. I must be bigger than someone. I must be before someone, in the front. No. Because material desires go down, it's much easier to live together. And maybe the final thing which I'll say, and then I'll open it up with some discussion. In this verse, it's explained that when we go spiritually deeper, we become less insecure. Have you noticed how people in this world are very insecure? Sometimes we can also, if we're honest, we say, I'm a little insecure. I need acceptance. I need acknowledgement. I need attention. People need attention. But what happens when we spiritually grow is we get connected to Krishna. So when you're connected to the Supreme Person, all insecurity disappears. Because you're now connected to the Supreme Person, the Supreme Controller. No more insecurity. And therefore, when people who don't have any insecurities come together, then community becomes very, very wonderful, very, very beautiful. So this is what we're trying to do here in our temples, in our communities. We don't want to just go out there in the world and tell people this is the best, this is the highest, this is the goal of life, this is the most advanced theology in the world, this is the highest religion. Yes, we can say that. But sometimes the more powerful thing is when they see the love of the community, when they see that, oh my God, when I come into this place, this is different. I've never experienced any people having relationships like this. That sometimes speaks louder. Our communities have to actually demonstrate all of these things. So in this purport, Srila Prabhupada said, the International Society for Krishna Consciousness is meant for making the Vaikuntha atmosphere. So we have to try to do that. This is the real glorification of Srila Prabhupada. We can come in front of Srila Prabhupada and Jai Prabhupada, Jai Prabhupada. That's very nice. But the real, what did Srila Prabhupada say? Your love for me will be shown by how much you cooperate. So there's an interesting story of that, I tell you. That the context of how Srila Prabhupada said this is Prabhupada was very, very sick in the final days. And then one devotee wrote a letter to Srila Prabhupada. And in the letter, he said, Srila Prabhupada, just like in the Bhagavatam, Puru decides to give his, is it Puru and Yayati? Right? It decides to give the youth away, to someone else. So the devotee said, just like we hear of this in the Bhagavatam, that you can give your youth away to someone else so they can live a longer life. I would like to give my youth away to you, and I would like to take your old age and disease, and I'll die, and you can continue spreading Krishna consciousness. So the devotee wrote this very nice letter. He said, I'm ready to die, and you take my youth. And what was Prabhupada's reply to his letter? Your love for me will be shown by how much you love. And this is very interesting, because what the devotee was saying is, I can kill my body for you, Prabhupada, I'm ready. But Prabhupada said, I don't want you to kill your body, but what I want you to do is kill your ego. Kill your ego and cooperate. Harder than even killing your body is to kill your ego. Anything, ready to do anything but kill my ego. So Srila Prabhupada said, that's not. If we're able to become humble devotees and bring everyone together. So all of us have that opportunity to glorify and serve Srila Prabhupada in that way. And if we create communities like this, then unlimited blessings will shower over the community, and there will be unlimited opportunities to expand and do amazing things. But it must begin with us having this beautiful spirit of love and trust, and individually going deeper so that when we come together, we can have a beautiful song. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama. I'm going to stop there. I didn't speak so long, and I purposely did that because I feel this kind of subject, sometimes it's better to have discussion and reflections and questions, because all of you are living in the community, all of us are here, and we experience so many different things. And just to make it more practical, rather than me just speaking, we can take have some discussion. Is that okay? Would you like to have some discussion? Would anyone have any question? Or it doesn't have to be a question, maybe have some reflections going to make. Yes.
Maybe can you read the translation once again, Maharaj?
I'll read the translation again.
Next week, this is on camera, says the numbers.
Yes. Canto 4, chapter 30, text number 35. Whenever pure topics of the transcendental world are discussed, the members of the audience forget all kinds of material hankerings, at least for the time being. Not only that, but they are no longer envious of one another, nor do they suffer from anxiety or fear. Would anyone like to ask any questions or make any comments, or Maharaj, anything you would like to say? By the way, because it was.
But power used to appear somewhere. But everyone forgot. And they forgot all about their differences.
Yeah.
And what power and went way again, same thing can happen.
Just in case everyone, just for the online audience, Maharaj said that when Srila Prabhupada would come, then naturally everyone would be in a very cooperative spirit. But when Srila Prabhupada would often leave and everything would. So how can we, does that mean we have to constantly keep Srila Prabhupada alive, present here as though he's here?
Keep him in the sense.
Keep him in the center, yeah. When we keep Srila Prabhupada's desires, Srila Prabhupada's teachings in the center, then there's much more chance, yeah, there's a great chance that we'll be more combined and cooperative. Therefore, every day we're not just worshipping Srila Prabhupada, but we're hearing from Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And they're encouraging all the devotees to very much grasp Srila Prabhupada's teachings by reading his books. Because by keeping him in the center, we have a much better chance. What did David to share?
What comes to my mind in regards to community development are two aspects. First of all, the deities are the center, and everybody is somehow engaged with some connection. And then also to bring care, being based on relationship. But by bringing these two things, I develop the community.
Yes. Devotee community. So that to repeat for the online audience. Yeah. But the is mentioning that if we create a community in which everyone is doing something or engaged in worshipping the deities and offering everything to the deities become the center of the community. This is very, very wonderful. Yes, I remember even in many communities I visited, everyone would do some seva for the deities, even if they be book distributors or fundraisers, everyone would offer an arati or cook one of them, do cooking or something. So that's very nice, yes. And the second thing Mother mentioned is that we can try to create systems of devotee care. And this is very, very powerful because when every devotee feels cared for, when they feel sheltered, then what happens is they are naturally having more trust and able to interact with everyone else in a much deeper way because they're being cared for themselves. But when someone isn't feeling cared for, then naturally there's a mistrust, there's an insecurity, and they are not able to give themselves fully in relationships with others, and therefore communities remain quite disjointed. Thank you so much. Yes, you have a question? Yes.
Thank you, Prabhu.
It was nice to meet Prabhu. I came out of the car and he just came running down the street to hug me. It was very nice. It's nice to come to Hare Krishna temple and walk out of the car and someone comes on the road to hug you. Thank you for that warm welcome. It meant a lot. Thank you.
So as you said, when we come to temple, and sometimes we forgot about Krishna, we see we see each other. This is a materialistic qualities. Yeah? Okay, sure. As everybody passes Jiva and Chidananda, but today we are in this body, and everybody of this body has some talents and some qualities. And in my opinion, a perfect team, a perfect consciousness, when everybody is doing that, what he is really can.
Yeah.
Right?
Following their own dharma.
Yeah. As an according as an dharma. That's why I think that maybe the materialistic as an qualities is not so bad. And maybe we should give some of the respect as also to that.
Great point, yeah. So let me just repeat your question for the online for your comment. Prabhu was saying that yes, when we come to the Hare Krishna movement, or the community, we should have a spiritual vision. We should see everyone equally. But at the same time, we do have differences. We have different talents. We have different abilities. We have different things given to us by Krishna. And the beauty of a community is that we do see those differences and that we engage those differences for Krishna. And that really makes for dynamic. Yes, therefore, Srila Prabhupada said, our slogan is unity in diversity. Yeah. So we see unity in diversity. So spiritual vision means to see, what does the humble sage see? Vidya Vinaya Shampane Brahmane Gavihastini Sunicheva Svapakecha Pandita Samadarshina. When a humble sage sees a cow, an elephant, a dog eater, then, or a brahmana, then he sees that ultimately there's a spiritual equality between them. But he also sees that they are in different bodies, but he sees the spiritual equality. So the trick in the Krishna consciousness, not the trick, but the key in the Krishna consciousness movement is that we see everyone as spiritually equal. And then we see that everyone has a different body, everyone has a different dharma, everyone has a different ability. And then we interact appropriately according to the differences and engage those. But we always see that behind all of these differences that we're engaging is an equal spirit soul that's equally dear to Krishna. And in that way, we can see the diversity, we can engage the diversity, and at the same time, we can see that everyone is special. Otherwise, if we only see the differences and engage them, but we don't see the spiritual equality, it can again become higher and lower. You see? So you're right. One extreme is to say, like, to treat everyone equally doesn't mean to see everyone in the same way. Like, we can see that people can have different talents and abilities, but we still see an equality between them. So that means unity and diversity. So yes, thank you for raising that point. And just another point to that is seeing spiritually equally doesn't mean also that we don't make discrimination. There's also discrimination. That word is very bad in the world today. If you tell them, in the Hare Krishna movement, we discriminate. What? Discriminate? Discriminate them. Call. We use, Father said, discriminate. So what does it mean to discriminate? It means, again, we see that everyone's a spirit soul, everyone's a pure soul, that everyone has different levels of spiritual evolution. And therefore, we relate to people understanding that, yes, there are different stages. I respect everyone, but I may more intimately associate with certain people, and other people maybe it's good that there's a little bit of distance. I respect everyone, but we must also discriminate, because that also makes sense. So thank you for raising this point, because it's not so simplistic that we just come in and see everyone the same. No, there is also difference. But behind that difference, unity. Thank you. Good point. You want to say, yeah,
yes. So maybe one question after the many discussions with different devotees, we have understood that sometimes in our community we have false roles. That sometimes our roles are just an upside down. That one is the person who have the good qualities in one thing.
Oh, they're in the wrong dharma.
They're doing the wrong dharma, and because of that, it's like there's an increase in the unhappiness of this person. And when the person is unhappy, he projects this as an community, right? Yeah. And this is a big deal, to make everybody.
Make sure everyone's in their dharma. Yeah, so Prabhu was saying, just for the online, I keep saying, Prabhu, what's your name?
Alexei.
Alexei. Alexei Prabhu is saying that sometimes devotees are in the wrong dharma, they're in the wrong, maybe not employing their skills and abilities, and therefore it brings sometimes a frustration that then comes out in the community in other ways. Yeah, it's interesting. There are 2 verses in the Bhagavad Gita which are repeated. Did you know this? There are 2 verses in the Bhagavad Gita which are repeated word for word by Krishna, practically word for word. Do you know which 2 they are? Yeah, the first one, Maharaj says, Manmana Bhava Madbhakto Madhyajimam. Krishna says in 9th chapter and 18th chapter, always think of me, become mine. He says it twice. There's one more verse in the Gita which Krishna says twice. Do you know what it is? Does anyone know what it is?
I heard your class.
Yeah, you can't say. Anyone know? There's one more verse. Krishna says it in the 13th chapter and he says it in the 3rd chapter and 18th chapter. Practically word for word he says it. Second repeated verse of the Gita, Krishna says, Shreyan Swadharma Viguna Swadharma Purivistaya. Krishna says, it is better to engage in your own dharma, even though if you do it bad, faultily, than to engage in another's dharma perfectly. You must follow your own dharma and then offer it to Krishna. So yes, your point is very, very important that oftentimes in our community, what's happened is that because of emergencies or because there's a need, often devotees are engaged outside of their dharma. Now, sometimes we have to be flexible. You know, like if you're walking past the kitchen and the devotee says, no one to wash pots. You say, Prabhu, it's not my dharma. I would love to wash the pots, you know, but, you know, it's not my dharma. And Krishna says, don't act out of your dharma. But that would maybe not be the best. You have to be flexible also. But in a long term, how long can someone keep doing something that's not their dharma? Say, for example, are you right-handed or left-handed? You're right-handed. So imagine I tell you to write with your left hand. How will you feel? Uncomfortable. What else?
Difficult.
It will be very difficult for you. What else?
It's not good handwriting.
The result will not be very good. What else?
Frustration.
You'll feel frustrated. What else? You'll get irritated. What else? To be slow. You'll get tired.
Interest, lose interest.
You lose interest.
Yeah, so because I'm not satisfied with the result.
Exactly. So this is what it feels like when you're functioning outside of your dharma. So yes, we must live in our dharma. It's very, very important. So thank you for raising these good points. Thanks for the hug. Yes, sir.
Maharaj, there is one question from the online devotee, Garima Mataji. She asked, in the Krishna conscious movement, how do we differentiate between the transcendental competition and material competition?
Good question. In Krishna consciousness, how do we distinguish between transcendental competition and material competition? I can tell you the theory. I can tell you the theory of it, and then whether this actually happens in practice in the Hare Krishna movement, you can judge for yourself. Because I think I've been in many so-called transcendental competitions which weren't on transcendental tradition marathon. Transcendental competition means the goal is to please Krishna. The goal please in transcendental competition is the spiritual world. But what is the competition? Who can bring the most pleasure to? Material competition means yes, it's for Krishna, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking of who will glorify me and who will acknowledge me, So sometimes this gain. So that's the first thing. Transcendental competition means that also another distinction is when someone does better than you, you're happy. It's interesting. Competition, and you're happy that someone beat you. How does that work? Yes, you're happy because the fact that they beat you means that they give you more pleasure to Krishna. And my ultimate goal is that Krishna should be pleased. If someone is giving more pleasure to Krishna, yes. With material competition, when someone else is winning, heavy competition. Once we were in, I stayed at Soho for some time in London, and there were heavy book distribution competition there. And and then at one point it was one Mataji and one Prabhu who were like head to head. So then when it's Prabhuji, Mataji on the top, then it becomes like 100 times. Intensified transcendental competition. And I remember one time they both stayed out so late. And then they didn't want to come back to the temple first, because then the other person would stay out longer. But by now it was like 10, 11 o'clock. They're thinking this is getting a bit out of hand. So the Prabhu, he was just like, he positioned himself to distribute books in a place where he could see, like, if she had gone back into the temple. So he was distributing and keeping an eye, like, where does she go? Like, wait for she should not, I should not go before her. But then anyway, finally he saw her. He distributed another 10 minutes and he thought, okay, this is it. So by now it was 11 o'clock. And then he came into the reception. And then the first thing he asked the devotee was, how many books did she distribute? So this was my card. Boom, just went straight out and started distributing for another hour or two. It was so like this, we can begin to see the difference between transcendental and material. Transcendental competition creates an ultimate unity because the center is Krishna. But in material competition, it ultimately creates a disunity. If we're saying we're doing a transcendental competition, but then we're becoming more disunited, then it's not very nice. So like this, when we begin to see, in theory, yes, transcendental competition, Srila Prabhupada would instituted that, but sometimes we again bring in a lot of material conceptions. An interesting thing that His Grace Vaisheshika Prabhu does now in book distribution is he says we should have competition, because one extreme could be, say, take out all competition, no league table anymore, just everyone does whatever they can do. But there's naturally, when there's competition, everyone puts more effort. So if more books go out, it's good. So he done an interesting thing now. What he said is that instead of individual competition, we do team competition. So a team of devotees against another team. Even that can sometimes get out of hand, but generally it's a little more likely to stay on the transcendental side because it's less likely. So we have to find a way in which to compete with each other that increases Krishna's pleasure and which creates more unity in our communities. Jai Shri Shri Vijay Gauranga Jai. Anyone else? I hope that's okay. Yes, Guru at the back.
Swamiji, I've got one request.
Yeah, Guru, what's your name?
My name is Ramesh.
Ramesh.
I would please, shall we transfer our Krishna consciousness to Putin?
Okay, just for the online audience, without mentioning any names, should we transfer our Krishna consciousness to maybe leaders of the world who we don't think are doing the best things? At the end of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, Iti te jnanamakyatam guyat guyataram maya vivrashe dadasheshena yatejasi tataguru At the end of the Gita, Krishna says to Arjuna, I've given you all the knowledge. Now you think about it, you consider and reflect, and then ultimately you do what you want to do. In this verse, Krishna is teaching us something very profound, that spirituality and spiritual consciousness cannot be implanted within someone else. Everyone is an individual, and everyone has free will, and everyone has to make their own decision. Even Krishna is in front of Arjuna, and he can't implant him with Krishna consciousness. Arjuna is up to you. Once I met someone, I said, what's the conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita? They said, it's very clear. I said, what is it? They said, Krishna says, do whatever you want to do. Say that, I don't know if that's the actual conclusion. But later on, it does say, but my supreme instruction. Anyway, that's how. But you get my point. We can encourage. We can try and reach these people. We can try and share Krishna consciousness, which is what we're trying to do. But in English, they have a saying, you can take the horse to water, but you can't make it drink. Hare Krishna.
Satish, the topic for today, Devotee Association Expert, and I've also been part of your Tingita sessions, and my sister Ramya is also part of your.
Oh, that's your sister.
Yes. So she introduced me to this movement, and again working with Rajiv, etc. in Tingita. So I think I truly understand the power of this, and also Gustavo Prabhuji's true bliss movement. The power of devotee association really, magnifies your, association with Krishna multiple folds. Yeah. And I'm fortunate to be part of this session. And one question for you is there are different sects in this world, right? Let's say within Hinduism and across other.
There are different. I just say bit by bit. There are different sects or different organizations or sampradayas within this world. Yeah.
Absolutely. And all of them have this Sadhu Sangha or devotee association.
All of them have Sadhu Sangha, devotee association.
So, what would be your, key attributes that are unique to ISKCON? Because you just mentioned that the astrologer told Prabhupada is creating the house for the world. So, how is our association, or I shouldn't say superior, that would not be a right term, but
why is it special?
Exactly. That's my question.
Thank you so much. The first thing is that we are not going to sit here and say that there are no spiritually elevated people outside of ISKCON. We're not even going to say that there are no spiritually elevated communities outside of ISKCON. We're not going to say that there are no pure devotees outside of ISKCON. No, that's not for us to say. And probably there are, and probably there is. So then why are we in ISKCON? Why do we stay in ISKCON? First and foremost, we stay in ISKCON because of a great and deep appreciation to Srila Prabhupada. If Srila Prabhupada had not come, if Srila Prabhupada had not made that sacrifice, if Srila Prabhupada had not suffered 2 heart attacks at sea and come and lived in the Bowery, which was full of rats, which was full of drunkards. Srila Prabhupada said, once I came into the Bowery where he was staying, and he said, I had to walk over a dead man. Someone was lying dead in his floor, in the ground floor. Can you imagine what kind of place he was living in? We realized Srila Prabhupada was the ambassador of the spiritual world. He made a sacrifice which perhaps the world may never see again. In Sanskrit, the word for gratitude is kripanya, to know what has been done for you. And therefore, we can never leave ISKCON, not because we are some kind of institutional, diehards, but because we love Srila Prabhupada. And Srila Prabhupada created ISKCON. Even sometimes if there are difficulties, there are imperfections, we stay because we know that's what will please Srila Prabhupada. And what makes the ISKCON Sangha special? What makes it special is that because Srila Prabhupada has delivered the pure teachings of the Bhagavatam, because Srila Prabhupada has given pure spiritual knowledge as it is, yatha-rup, without any alteration. Therefore, it means we have access to the spiritual practices, principles, and processes which have the opportunity to create the deepest elevation of consciousness. Now, whether we're tapping into that and whether we're accessing that, that's a different thing. But the potentiality is unparalleled. Because what Srila Prabhupada has brought is a theology and a theological system which you won't find anywhere else. And another day we can have a discussion on how the Bhagavatam and the Bhagavad theology is the most advanced theology in the world. Maybe we can do that tomorrow if you like. So we can objectively prove. Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj, His Holiness Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj once went on national television and he said, if anyone can prove to me that they have a theology which is more advanced, I will convert on the spot, here and now. You're very bold. So we don't say in an egotistical way, but when you look at it objectively, this theology is unparalleled. So maybe we can discuss that tomorrow. But, so this is why we're here. And I'll just say one other thing that, we are also here because we also have had a glimpse in our communities of something very, very different. All of us, we have to be honest, when we walk into the Hare Krishna temple and the Hare Krishna community, it's not like every step is a dance, every word is a song. Sometimes in between all the songs, there are a few arguments, and in between all the dances, there are a bit of struggles as well. So it's not like, but all of us can say we have experienced some glimpse of something special in this Sangha that we never experienced anywhere else. So therefore we're remaining here for these reasons. But with great respect to other Gaudiya organizations, to other Vaishnava societies, to other Vedic cultures, to other religions, to atheists and everyone else, we respect everyone. But yes, this is our home after all. Okay. How long do we go to?
15 more minutes is okay.
For me, if it's getting late, so if anyone does need to leave, then don't think it's rude, you're welcome. And otherwise, we'll go on for 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah. Maharaj, thank you
I
very
think
much.
no one will go because at 8 o'clock is Prashadam. That's just it.
The alarms blow only after 8 o'clock. Maharaj, you are bringing a point from Rupa Goswami and Bhav, and what are the qualities that manifest in such devotees, which makes a kind of a goal of how we should evolve or develop. But what are the baby steps for that? So Bhav is already too high. What are the ABCs so that we can practice to come? Because forgiveness or the other qualities that you have mentioned is, it might take ages.
So how do we evolve towards Bhav, because it feels very, very far away? Well, Rupa Goswami is explained, so just to repeat the question, the symptoms of Bhav seem very, very far away. So how do we develop that kind of emotion when it feels so far away? So therefore, Rupa Goswami is saying in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Kriti sadhya bhavet sadhya sadhya sa sadhana vida nitya siddhasya bhavasya prakatyam vridi sadhyata. Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya Sadhana Bhakti has the potentiality of bhav impregnated within it. In other words, bhav may seem very, very far, but for now, if you embrace sadhana bhakti in sincerity and in seriousness, then know for sure that within those practices of sadhana bhakti, the potentiality of bhav is residing and it will awaken. Therefore, don't underestimate waking up every day, chanting your rounds, reading the books, serving at the temple, sharing Krishna consciousness with others. These are basic practices, seemingly basic practices, but they will awaken something incredible. Have you ever seen the Karate Kid? No, the Karate Kid. Yeah, no one saw it, huh? Okay, I won't give that analogy. It was only 200. But the point is that there are many things which you do which you won't realize how powerful they are, but in time you will realize they give you an amazing gift. So bhav will come. Srila Prabhupada said, first deserve, then desire. So we should make ourselves qualified. We should show Krishna that we're serious. We should show that we're committed. Madhvacharya, he says, I don't measure a person by how much they do in one day. I chanted 64 rounds today. I sat in kirtan 12 hours today. Madhvacharya says, I don't measure someone by what they can do in one day. I measure them by what they do every day. Krishna consciousness is not difficult. Should I tell you what's difficult? The everyday principle. That's what's difficult. One day, anyone can do anything in Krishna consciousness. But the real question is, can you do it every day? If you can do it every day, Nitya Siddhasya Bhavasya, then Bhav is waiting. But you have to become a good sadhaka. So that is what we are focusing on. And then we have the association of devotees who will then awaken deeper things within us when we're more qualified. And that will come naturally. So elevated association and more entrance into hearing and chanting about Krishna will come naturally. But we have to focus on sadhana bhakti. Now, other final thing I'll say of developing bhava bhakti is that oftentimes if you see Srila Prabhupada, when he quotes these symptoms of bhava bhakti, he's explaining that we can also cultivate these symptoms. Shanti, forgiveness. Can you not start to be a little more forgiving? Yeah, maybe someone made a mistake. Try to forgive them. Give them another chance. Try to become more forgiving. Second symptom of bhav, avyartha kalatvam. Someone in bhav doesn't waste one moment of time. We all have that, but maybe we can start wasting less time. Virakti, third symptom of bhav, have incredible detachment, natural detachment. Nidrahara viharakani. Goswamis are forgetting to eat and sleep. Did you ever forget to eat? Yeah, maybe it's one day, every day. Did you ever forget to sleep? That's virakti. But we can start becoming a little more detached. Start walking away from things that are not favorable to our Krishna consciousness. Mana shunyata, fourth symptom of someone in bhav. Mana shunyata, no pride. You can start being a little less, bow down a little bit more. I'm very happy now as I get taller and taller. I find myself bowing down more and more. It's good, Krishna's arrangement. Even the mic stands in the Krishna consciousness movement tend to bow down. This one's good actually. Manisham Yada Ashabanda, great hope, Samutkanta, eagerness, Namagane Sadaruchi, a great taste for chanting Krishna's names. So like this, Ashaktistad Gunakyane, someone in Bhav has an addiction. Someone in Bhav addicted? You mean like Alcoholics Anonymous? They're addicted. Shaktistad Gunakyane, they're addicted to talking about Krishna. Have you ever met someone who's addicted to talking about Krishna? If you did, let me know. I want to hang out with them. There's someone, there are devotees like that who are addicted to talking about Krishna. Pritistad Vasadi, someone in Bhav, they love to live in the holy place. Vrindavan, they don't hear the rickshaws, they don't hear the dogs barking, they don't see the open sewage, they don't see the monkeys, they don't see the harsh climate, they're not worried about the power cuts, they're not worried about the cold marble floor, they don't see any of that. They just see this is Madhurya Dham, this is the place where Radha and Krishna Nitya Leela is going on. Pretty stunned, Vasati stunned. Love to live there. There's the T-shirt. I lost my heart in Vrindavan. I shared later, Maharaj made a joke. He said, I hope they lost their heart to the right person. They lose your heart to something. Hopefully not. Hopefully it was Krishna. So like this, Rupa Goswami is saying, Bhagavad awakens step by step in the heart of a sincere person. So we're praying that one day we can develop some genuine spiritual emotion for Krishna. They are Srila Prabhupada once, what will make you happy? And Prabhupada said, if you become a pure devotee of Krishna, that will make me very happy. So we have to try. That is Prabhupada's desire. Prabhupada said, if I make one pure devotee, I'll consider my whole movement a success. So how potential Srila Prabhupada's movement is so many advanced Vaishnavas who have dedicated their lives for service. So then we say, let me also try. Let me be like that pigeon in the back. Maybe I can't go at the front, I don't have that capacity. But maybe I can trade along in the back and go with the pack. Maybe I'll reach. So Prabhupada said, just hang on to my dhoti. I have the back door key to the spiritual world. I tried to go in the Jagannath temple through the front, and they stopped me. They said, are you Hindu? I said, yeah, I'm Hindu. I'm whatever you want me to be, I want to go in. I said, no, you grew up in the West and all of this, so he stopped me. So then I came out, so low, I see Jagannath. So I went through the side gates. Anyway, even Mahaprabhu's closest associates, they didn't get in. But the amazing thing is that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to see them. They didn't want to let them in to see Jagannath, so Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came and saw them. But the point is, if you can't get in through the front, you can try this one through the side. Srila Prabhupada, he'll take us through the side. He'll be very happy. He's very, very kind. He made it possible. So let us try. Thank you so much for your kind attention. Thank you to Maharaj for encouraging me by being here. Mother Devaki, thank you so much. Very happy to be here for a few days. look forward to your association. Srila Prabhupada ki, Krishna Seva, Vaishnava Sangha ki,
Boले Sai Baba Keshav Maharaj ki jai.